We would like to begin the ceremony with the presentation of a new award that we developed this year in order to honor an Alpha Iota Tau chapter alumni of Kappa Delta Pi. The Teacher of the Year award is given to an alumni who is currently teaching and making a difference in the lives of children. Selection was based on demonstration of the ideals of Kappa Delta Pi: fidelity to humanity, toil, service, and science. This year's awardee is a former board member who showed outstanding service in that role, and who, in her first year teaching kindergarten at Sailor Park School in Cincinnati Public Schools, exemplified the ideal of toil in the face of a global pandemic. The ideal of toil is the will to do the task that must be done, whether the task pleases one or not, and faith in the social necessity and intrinsic reward of the education profession. Overcoming the obstacles to successfully teach kindergarten remotely is to be commended and honored. As such, please give a virtual round of applause to our 2021 Teacher of the Year, Elizabeth Maloney, class of 2020.
Thank you. I am so honored to have been named Teacher of the Year for the Alpha Iota Tau chapter of Kappa Delta Pi. It is crazy to think that at last year's initiation, exactly 1 year ago, teachers across the country were on the precipice of reinventing education. I could tell you about the trials and tribulations of teaching kindergarten online during a global pandemic, but I am sure you have already learned about that from field experiences and teacher TikToks. Instead, I want to tell you about a group of resilient kids I know who have spent their first year of school rising to unprecedented challenges and defying all odds. I want to take you back to the beginning of the school year, August 2020. My district, Cincinnati Public Schools, had decided to begin the school year remotely. iPads were distributed to our students, and Wi-Fi was provided for all families. Google had made it seemingly simple for kids to get on Google Meets. All our kids needed to do was enter a simple code at a specific time to access each class. While this process appeared straightforward, many concerns presented themselves, including, how will my 5-year-olds get on Google Meets? I knew that most of my kindergartners would be with older siblings or grandparents during the school day. While there could be some home support, I predicted that most of my kids would be on their own for school. As a kindergarten teacher, I wondered, how will my students know when to get on for class if they don't know how to tell time? How will they log on to their Google account if they don't know their letters? The weeks leading up to the first day of school were filled with, I can't, they can't, we can't. As a first-year teacher, these are not the most inspiring sentiments. Next, I want to take you to the first day of school for my kindergartners, my first day as a teacher, the first Google Meet. I held my breath, expecting no more than 3 or 4 of the 15 kids on my roster to join. I still couldn't wrap my head around the whole logging into Google when you're 5 thing. Imagine my delight when 5, 10, 15 tiny humans joined the first meet. I felt like a kid on Christmas morning, and each box with a smiling student was a perfect present. I was ecstatic, clapping and cheering each time a new face popped on my screen. The "we can't" that I felt just weeks before started to become "we could possibly." Next, flash forward to January 2021. In the 4 months since that first Google Meet, my kids had become masters at some amazing learning technologies like Seesaw. Many of my students were teaching me innovative ways to use these platforms. The second half of the school year seemed sunnier, with the switch from fully remote to blended learning on the February horizon. One Tuesday after our morning Google Meet, one of my sweet students, who I will call Lily, declared in a very serious tone, "Maloney, I need help." To paint a clearer picture, Lily has a speech impairment that impacts her ability to communicate. After a few minutes of playing charades to understand Lily, who was frustrated and on the brink of tears, I finally determined her problem. She had been logged out of the Seesaw app and could not do her daily activities. "It's okay, Lil," I said initially. "Don't worry about it, go play instead." However, this brought on even more anxiety and uncontrollable tears. After quickly determining there was not an adult nearby to help Lily log back in, I knew what we had to do. Okay, Lily, you can do this. We can do this. We will get you logged back in together. The 20-minute process of getting Lily logged into Seesaw involved teaching her how to share her iPad screen, guiding her to navigate buttons with words she did not know how to read, and dictating her 25-character email address and case-sensitive password for her to type in. Halfway through spelling Cincinnati for Lily to type, I realized something. My girl could identify the letters I was saying and type them on the keyboard. To give context, this is a huge accomplishment for any kindergartner, let alone Lily, who could not identify the letters in her own name at the beginning of the school year. When Lily finally logged into her account, we both emitted squeals of joy and gave each other an enormous virtual high five. My initial fear from the beginning of the year began to subside. They can't became she can, and she did. Now things are starting to go back to normal. In April, my district went back to fully in-person learning for the first time since last March. My kindergartners now get to embrace typical challenges of in-person school, like eating lunch in the cafeteria for the first time. Your first day of teaching will likely be in person, not on a Google Meet, fingers crossed. So why did I tell you this story? Because these kids, my kindergartners, are your future students. They began their school careers on iPads or in face masks, with all odds stacked against them. They embraced the challenges of this school year with unparalleled resilience and learned a set of skills that will benefit them for the rest of their educational careers and lives. In a few years, when you are challenged with teaching comprehension skills to third graders or polynomials to high schoolers, remember the greatness that these kids accomplished this school year. Never say they can't. Instead, remember, they can, they did, and they will do it again. Thank you.